Hello, everybody. Welcome to the jungle. This is Joe Palmetto on the Joe Palmetto Lost Show. I'm sorry, the Common Sense Academy. I got two channels out there, so now I'm all over the place. I'm starting a little early here to run a live chat, see who wants to drop in, wants to talk with me, wants to have a little fun tonight. It's Wednesdays. Check this out up here. This is my regular time, live shows every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Ask anything, call, or chat. I'm here, Joe Palmetto, Joe the lawyer. I'm a practicing Pittsburgh attorney. I do criminal defense, family law, personal injury, employment, landlord tenant, whatever you need. If you got a legal question you want to call in and talk about, then call in and let's talk about your legal question. If you want to talk about sovereign citizens, auditors, politics, or travel, I'm up for that too. Right now, I'm going to take a short sip. I'm going to enjoy that sip. Pretty thirsty tonight. Let's see. It's been a long day. Wednesdays are weird. I'll tell you about my week. Like Mondays, low energy. Tuesdays, high energy, ready to take on the world. It's new week. Wednesday, energy dip. Then Thursday, Friday, high energy. I need to find a way to get my energy higher throughout the entire week. And I'm sorry, this is mostly independent of food or diet, because even when let me back that up. If I exercise, I do feel a little better on those days, but this dip in my mood seems to have to do with the work week. I mean, it actually has to do with the 5-day work week. It's like Mondays, it's like 4 days ahead, dreadful. Tuesday, like I can get in there and I can knock shit out. Wednesday, my energy goes back down. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, it's like boom. And then Sunday, it's high until like 7 p.m. Hey, Roscoe, how you doing? Thanks for joining me. Love your, I love your avatar there. Roscoe P. Coltrane in the house. Scott Allen, how you doing? Thanks for dropping in. Red Bull, I'm more of a coffee and you know what else, I like to drink my diet sodas. What I also enjoy, actually, what is actually very good and underrated, is Diet Red Bull. Hello, Gary. Ali Awed asks why I have an egghead. Well, I was just born this way, brother. I was born this way. I don't know. Maybe you're a female. I can't tell. I don't know what you are. That's okay. I was born this way. Thank you, Kevin, for dropping in. Glad you appreciate my content. Bob, barbecue Bob? How you doing? Howdy, sir. I drink coffee all day too, Roscoe. I just had a cup. First Amendment Ed, I love you, man. Thanks for stopping in. Gary with the Yoo-hoo. I like Yoo-hoo too. I just can't drink it all the time. Hello, Gary Boydston. Thanks for joining us. If there's anything you guys would like to talk about, drop me a topic. If anybody wants to call in and talk about something, we can drop my phone number too. 412-593-4529 is a direct line to me. I'll put you on speaker. Someday I'm going to get a better setup so that everybody can actually hear. Some people, when I get calls, they say they hear really well. Some people say they don't hear well. I don't know. It just depends on perhaps your own computer or whatever it is, etc. So whatever you guys want to talk about, we can chat. There's been some interesting developments in Pittsburgh. If anybody's been following this Wilkinsburg case, get some Brunton's chocolate milk better than Yoo-hoo. Brunton's chocolate milk. I'm gonna. You know what? Brunton's chocolate milk. I'm on that, Roscoe. I'm on that, man. I like Yoo-hoo and chocolate milk. Okay, I got a question. I'm in Massachusetts. Disclaimer: I'm not a Massachusetts attorney, but I'll give you the best information I can. Don't take this as legal advice. My sister and brother-in-law are considering bankruptcy due to medical and student loan debt. They have $75,000 in medical debt, $120,000 in student loans. They are on a teacher. Well, my understanding is it's very difficult to get student loan debt discharged in bankruptcy. It's actually possible if you can show that it will create a highly detrimental burden on you going forward after the bankruptcy. Here's what I can say though: they can almost certainly knock that 75,000 in medical debt out. That is dischargeable in bankruptcy, my understanding. But student loans are not. Doesn't mean you wouldn't get some relief. For instance, the court may put a stay on those student loans so you don't have to pay them, or they may help you structure payments. Julie, hi, love you too. Thank you for dropping by. Can lie detectors be used in felony cases? No. I'll tell you a little bit about what I know about lie detectors, and I haven't specifically researched the law on this, but the way it goes in my practice with criminal defense is that oftentimes, well, number one, lie detectors are deemed scientifically inaccurate. So the results of a lie detector test are not admissible in a Pennsylvania court. The results of a lie detector test are not admissible in a Pennsylvania court. Therefore, the prosecution or the defense can't come in and say, hey, look, this guy's lying. He failed the lie detector test. At the same time, the defense can't come in and say, oh, look, he's telling the truth. He passed with flying colors. It's not admissible, or either end, okay? It's deemed essentially to be junk science. Now, the science will tell you that it is accurate up to, perhaps a majority of the time, all right, but that's not enough for it to be admitted into court. Court needs more of a scientific certainty, okay, for a lie detector to be used in a court of law. So what will happen in certain high-level cases is the district attorney or the prosecutor will be talking about a case and will say to us, the defense attorneys will say, look, your client takes a lie detector. If he passes, I'll drop the charges. Because sometimes they don't know who did it, okay? And they got your client pinned, all right? And if he passes a lie detector test, they may drop charges. I've seen that happen. If you fail the lie detector test, though, they're going to come after you even harder. So it's a big risk. That's what I mean, First Amendment, Ed. That's what I mean, Ed. It's not, they're not deemed reliable. They're not deemed reliable. Hey, JR, welcome from Minnesota. I know two things you can't discharge with bankruptcy is child support and student loans. Yeah, that's correct. Somebody asked me and I looked into it and I found that there are student loans are generally not going to be dischargeable. They actually can be, but you have to convince a judge that the continuing payment is going to cause, I don't remember exactly what it is, but some sort of substantial burden on you going forward. Okay. And so what that means to me is you would have to show that you're no longer able to work. You're a human being who can no longer get a job. You don't have a job. You don't have prospects for getting a job. Okay. Something along those lines. You're now physically or mentally disabled. That's probably the only circumstances where it's going to happen. I have a question, Julie. I have a question. Tax offset on a student loan. They didn't take my tax refund years ago, and this is from the 90s. Do they always take your refund? Don't they send a letter? Julie, I honestly, I do not know, Julie, but if I were you, I would send letters. I would send letters to the student loan company to get detailed records. That's one thing that they are required to do is keep detailed records of the note. So you may be able to go back and find out exactly what happened. Student loans discharged because I'm a disabled vet. Exactly, First Amendment, Ed. That's what I'm saying. So they actually can be discharged. But it's going to be a scenario like that. You're disabled for one reason or another. You're on some sort of limited income because you can no longer work and bring in income, and then they can discharge it. You're welcome, Julie. I don't know what else to say. I would say, like I said, send them a letter and ask them for your tax information going back as far as you possibly can. And ask them for detailed information on the payments. When you request that information, they have to give it to you. A friend's uncle was on parole, failed the detector, got thrown back in jail for a parole violation. Well, here's the interesting thing about probation and parole. So lie detectors are not admissible at a trial. However, when you go on probation or parole, what that means is that you are convicted of some sort of crime. May not be a convicted felon, might be a misdemeanor. And so you actually experience a degradation of certain rights, okay? It may be that lie detectors can be used for purposes of parole and probation. I haven't encountered them in that situation, but I can tell you they're not admissible at a court hearing, at a court trial. I can tell you that with confidence. Not in Pennsylvania. Other states, I have no idea. Other states may allow it. If you don't pay your student loans, you should have to forget everything you learned. JR, do you need a license to travel? What you need to travel is a magic license plate. You don't need a driver's license. Come on. That was all created by this corporation that was set up that calls itself the United States government in the early 1910s. Okay. Don't listen to them. All you need is a piece of paper that says that you're a free traveler and that you're not traveling, you're conveying. On top of that, as long as you write in capital letters on that piece of paper, okay, that you are not traveling for commercial purposes, don't worry. The police won't pull you over at all. In fact, they will defer to you. Okay, everybody, I got some requests. We got 26 people here in the chat. My favorite part of the day is generally when I wake up in the morning. Hey, Ed, thank you very much. Thank you. If you got another question to drop me, let me know. We're going to do same time sip here. Okay, I wake up in the morning and I love my cup of coffee. Probably like many of you, you drink coffee. Gary drinks Yoo-hoo. Some people will drink tea. As somebody even recommended to me, a Red Bull, which I don't really like. Okay. But that sip in the morning is fantastic. That first sip of coffee, really, it hits the spot. Okay. However, the second best sip that you're going to have is when you sit down with me, you watch my videos, you come on my live chat. Hey, Dr. Sarah, thank you very much. You're welcome. You're welcome for the help. You come on my live chat, you sit down with me, you grab your beverage. I know some of you out there are drinking beer. Some of you are drinking Yoo-hoo. You might like iced tea. You might like regular Coke. Regular Coke, corn syrup gets a bad rap these days. That's okay. When you're doing the same time sip, any beverage works. You can use any container. You might use a glass. You might use a cup. You might use a mug. You may use a canteen. You might have a thermos. What did someone call it today when I was at the coffee shop? A Yeti. You may have a Yeti. Whatever it is, take your drink, raise it in the air, shake the ice cubes around, because when we sip together, it tastes better. Cheers. Delicious. I had dinner with my 2-year-old niece tonight, and she just learned how to cheers. So she loves to cheers. And so we just did that. You know, she's drinking water and we're just cheering. We're doing cheers back and forth. When I was younger, I used to snort Coke, but what? Oh, Bob, that's in writing. Oh, okay. I like that. Pretty good, barbecue. Want to hear a story? Ed, you're a veteran, so I'm sure I got some other veterans in here. So when I was in the Air Force, I was stationed in Okinawa, and there was this one dude. He was a maniac. I mean, everybody knows these guys, you know, that are just freaking maniacs in the military. Anyway, we're at a house party, and I shouldn't even tell this story. I'm going to tell it anyway. Okay. If people can't relate to it, well, they can jump in the lake. So hoorah, right? That's what I'm saying. Hoorah, hoorah. He put down a line of salt and he snorted a line of salt. Okay, he snorted a line of salt. So snorted a line of salt. Took a shot of tequila, okay, and then squeezed the lemon in his eye, okay. And I'm here to tell you that I did the same thing. And I will tell you what, if you snort the salt and shoot the tequila and squirt the lemon in your eye, you will not taste the tequila at all. Yeah, I was at Cadena. Don't stick. You will not taste the tequila at all. I mean, if you want to wipe out the taste of tequila, do what I just told you. Keesler in Biloxi. Now we're talking. Now we're talking. Mississippi, your enlistment. I went to the casinos in Biloxi when I was stationed at Fort Walton Beach. I was at Eglin Air Force Base, and my buddy lived in Dallas, and we drove over to Texas a couple of times. We would stop off at Biloxi. You won't see. Gary, yeah, you are absolutely right, man. You are absolutely right. You will not see or anything. Osan Ice, thank you very much. I appreciate the chat. I appreciate it. If you got a question, I'm gonna rock on. We're all gonna rock on. Thank you very much. Did they fly SR-71s out of, they flew a lot of stuff, Taze, so I can't remember everything that they flew. I can tell you we flew F-15s. I was in an F-15 squadron. I wasn't a pilot, excuse me. I was a mechanic. Yeah, you won't, Julie, trust me. I was an F-15 crew chief, and so I worked on F-15s, and we flew F-15s. There were 15s and 16s at Cadena. There were 131s. We had AWACS. The cool thing about Cadena was all kinds of different jets and aircraft came through. So the Marines were landing stuff. We had Army helicopters, everything. Naha. Yeah, Naha is the big city. Yeah. I don't work on cars. I know everybody's shocked by that, Carl. When I got out, I would work on cars, but I rarely work on cars anymore. But you give me a wrench and a screwdriver and a torque. You give me the right stuff, I'm pretty good with my hands. They might have flown those days. I can't remember, man. I mean, I was mostly in my world, like I was on my flight line with the F-15s. And I did a stunt as a security forces augmentee. So basically for 4 months, I was a glorified mall cop, I guess you could say. But no, I did security forces. I was a security trooper, and I would do gate duty and I would do flight line duty. So they'd put me on the gate and we would just ID people and cars and vehicles that were coming through. We left a guy in Naha prison. Man, I'll tell you what, Japanese prisons, you do not want to go to jail in Japan. You do not. The Japanese, all their stuff, we see their cultures. Oh, it's so cute. They got like little Hello Kitty and all that. You do not want to go to Japan, to jail in Japan. We picked up prisoner in a crummy gig. Yeah, I bet, Bob. I bet, man. You do. From what I heard, you do not want to go to jail or prison in Japan. I mean, they basically torture you. You're basically in solitary the whole time. I mean, I can't even imagine. Japanese. Whew, I love Japanese culture. What's that say about me? Need to tell these auditors that they can't be trespassed in a public place, that they can. They're so annoying, diluted. I know, Julie. They are absolutely. I mean, they're hilarious. And the funniest part about some of these auditors, these nerds, I mean, going into post offices. I mean, come on, guys. Come on, go do some, videotape something people care about. You're going to a post office. What are you doing? What are you doing? I'll tell you something. When I was in Taze, what years were you in? Were you there? We used to bring them back up to naval prisons in the U.S. and they were happy to go. I bet. The other crazy thing when I got to Okinawa, okay, I grew up in Pittsburgh. I'm not going to say, I remember my dad, there's this one road, in Pittsburgh, my dad would talk about, and he'd say, when I was young, we used to drag race on this road, blah, blah, blah. Okay, in the 60s and the 70s. I never encountered any drag racing. Okay, growing up in Pittsburgh, being in the States. And when I joined the Air Force, I traveled all around the world. And so I'm seeing things I never seen before. Okay. So if I get to Okinawa, Japan, and we're mechanics. Here's the thing: a lot of the guys that went into my career field are like they're gearheads. Like they all like they're super into their cars, man. Like these dudes grew up 79. Okay. These dudes, yeah, that was before me. I was '02 to '06. Anyway, these guys are like gearheads that joined the Air Force. Look, when I joined the Air Force, I said to my recruiter, first I wanted to do air traffic control. He was like, your vision sucks. So he gave me a list, and I literally like sat there and I looked at it, and this is like the days before the internet. Honestly, I didn't have internet in my house, and I looked, he gave me a list of jobs, and I was like, well, I know F-15s were cool. I was like, let me do F-15s. He's like, you'll like that job, recruiters just bullshit you the whole time. It's like, you'll love this job. You'll like, yeah, this will be fun. F-15s, you work on jets, you've been in the Air Force. So I was like, okay. So I get in, I go through basic, and it's all kinds of people. And then I get into my career field, and all these dudes are just like, we're all 18, 19, but they knew more about cars than I knew about anything else in my life. So I get to Japan, and all my friends are mechanics, car mechanics. So what do? We go, they find these drag races in Japan, okay? And so they got into drifting and drag racing. And they all bought, and again, I'm not a big car guy. Like, I'm not a big mechanic guy. I got good at being a mechanic, okay, doing it for 4 years, but like, it's not my passion, okay? So we go to this industrial area down closer to Naha, probably, in Okinawa. And so we go to this industrial area, and these dudes and hanging out with all these Japanese people. Okay, crowds on the street. It was like out of Greece. It's literally out of Greece. Everybody would gather on the corners and up and down the streets. Okay, and we'd be drinking beer. All right, drinking beer, climbing on top of vending machines and shit. Like, I sat on top of this vending machine and watched drag racing for like an hour on the streets of this industrial area and watched drifting. I mean, it was so much fun. And here's the craziest part. So, Joe Donho, thank you for dropping in. Yeah, drag races in Japan. I'm all over the place tonight. So copywritten material. All right, I'm going to get to that in 1 second. So here's the craziest part about it, and this actually ties into my content. The police would let us go for about 1 hour, and then the Japanese cops would show up, okay? And everybody would spread like cockroaches, okay? And my friends, and I get in my friends' cars, all right? And I'm drinking a beer, and like, I was just along for the ride. Like, I wasn't driving. I get in my friends' Skylines, and they would speed out of these industrial areas. I'm talking like 80 miles per hour, like, and like the Japanese cops would start following us, okay? But it was like a game. Like, it's crazy. I could not believe this. They would follow us, run us out of the industrial center, and then stop following you. That's it. Let you go. All right. You all know as well as I do watching these videos, and I don't know what it's like there anymore. All right. This was, I don't know, 18 years ago. Okay. So they would follow us and then let us go. Let me tell if that in the United States, the cops start following you in a high-speed chase, they're not going to stop until you are in handcuffs or dead. Okay. The fact that they let us get away was freaking hilarious. Copy is the so-called poor man's copyright, as in mailing, say, a song to yourself. The date, the postmark is the date on the postmark is the effective date. The poor, Bob, I don't know. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to look it up, and then we're going to talk about it. The poor man's copyright is a method of using registered dating by the Postal Service, a notary public, or other highly trusted source to date intellectual property, thereby helping to establish the material has been in one's possession since a particular time. The concept is based on the notion that in the event that such property were to be misused, the poor man's copyright would at least establish a legally recognized date of possession. In countries with no central copyright registration authority, it can be difficult for an author to prove when their work was created. A copy could be deposited with a bank or solicitor. Alternatively, a creator could send himself or herself a copy by special delivery post, leaving the envelope unopened on its return. A number of private companies operate unofficial registers, but it would be sensible to check carefully what you will be paying for before choosing this route. It's important to note this does not prove that a work is original or created by you. There is no provision in U.S. copyright law regarding any such type protection. Therefore, the poor man's copyright is not a substitute for registration. According to furthermore, Eric Goldman, there is an absence of cases actually giving any value to the poor man's copyright. So, that would, Bob, that would be my answer. But here's what I will say about that is sometimes in lawsuits, there can be questions of when in time something occurred. Could that be used as evidence that you had, at the very least, like, let's say an imposter came forward and said, I wrote this book first in 2014. Well, if you had a piece of mail that was sent in 2013 with the completed book and your name on it, that's evidence, okay, that you had written the book prior to 2014. As long as you could authenticate that, everything on that document was legitimate. I mean, I guess the concept is that getting that stamped by the post office makes that time, it's basically a timestamp is what it is, essentially a timestamp. And it's a more credible timestamp because it comes from the United States Post Office, which is seen as a credible federal organization. So what I would say is there's no law that supports it, but so if you're going to create something and then send it in the mail and then be like, oh, I have a copyright. No, that's not true. But if you did something like that, that could be used as evidence. That could be used as evidence that you were onto this idea rather than someone else. That alone may not decide a case, but sometimes cases are decided when you have multiple pieces of evidence that stack up to tell a story. How often did you go down Whisper Alley? Taze, I don't know what you're talking about, man. I don't know what you're talking about there. What did you do in the Air Force? I was an F-15 crew chief. I worked on jets. I worked on F-15s. I was a mechanic. I was a dedicated crew chief to F-15 fighter jets. So we were called Jack of all trades, master of none. I would change the tires, change the oil, pull an engine out, put an engine back in, take off certain flight controls, stabilizers. Jesus, it's been so long. Stabilizers, flaps, ailerons needed replaced. The one area that us as crew chiefs specialized in, we like to say, was hydraulics. So we would test all the hydraulics on a jet, make sure that everything was running good. If it wasn't, we'd take a hydraulic component out, put a new one in. Sometimes you could fix them without fully replacing them. But that's what we did. We run safety checks on the jet, and then we do what's called launch and recovery. So I always tell people, if you've seen Top Gun at the beginning, they're on the aircraft carrier, and there's a dude who's doing this, and then he's like, when the jet, that's what I did. Like I'd marshal aircraft. I would direct them. Okay. I would stop them. I'd stop them. And then we'd pull chocks. Thanks, Joe. Never thought to Google it. Been telling a friend of mine that for years. Bob, I believe that it is evidence that could be used in a court of law that you had an idea on a certain date. But is that alone going to be enough to convince a court? No. But, if you're starting something out and you want to cross your T's and dot your I's, it's not a bad idea. Any advice on suing a doctor who injured me during an exam? Was told it's not malpractice because labor and industries paid her. MIE doctor was supposed to get just a detailed history, no physical exam. Well, Robert, my question would be, did you okay, so there was an IME, you had an independent medical exam. Did you involve a plaintiff's attorney in this claim, or did you just bring the claim up and the insurance company sent you to an IME, and then the IME doctor came away and said that there wasn't a case or that there wasn't an injury? Here's what I'm saying. Those IMEs are called independent medical examinations. What I'm telling you is they're not independent. They're medical examination, but they're not independent. Those IME doctors are paid by insurance companies, okay, and they're chosen. And I'm not going to say they start out, they're chosen because the insurance companies know that these doctors tend to go a certain way. So what I think you should do, Robert, is talk to an attorney, bring the IME evaluation to that lawyer and see what the lawyer has to say. Oftentimes, what I don't take med mal cases. Okay, I got a Pittsburgh accent, Julie. I don't take med mal cases, but what med mal attorneys do is they say, give me the medical records. You can go, Robert. You can get your own medical records, and you can take them to the lawyer. And a med mal lawyer will likely read them, at the very least, read the IME, listen to your story, and tell you what's going on if you have a case. Here's the thing with med mal is insurance companies defend them vociferously. Doctors are good witnesses, and juries don't have problems siding with doctors. So what does all that mean? It means that plaintiffs' attorneys only take med mal cases that are really good. Okay, they got to be strong. The other thing too is before you can even file a medical malpractice case, you need a doctor who will sign off on a certificate of merit stating that there is some merit to your claim. How do you pick an attorney? You do research. Okay, I actually did a video on this, Kevin. It's a great question. It's one of my favorite questions. It's on this channel, one of my old videos. How do I choose a lawyer? It's on this channel. Go back into my old videos. Okay, you pick a lawyer. Number one, here's the thing. A lot of people get attorneys through referrals. I get most of my cases through referrals because there's clients who have helped me and who I have helped, and they like me, so they send people to me. What you want to do is you want to meet with that attorney. Most attorneys give free consultations. Sometimes I do mine over the phone. If an attorney gives you a free consultation in person, go and do the consultation. Shop around. A lot of people don't do that. I'll tell my clients if they have questions, I'll be like, look, I don't mind. Go talk to another lawyer, etc. I know that like my fees are very competitive. So I don't really lose clients like that. Anyway, I would say, here's what I would say, Kevin, is speak to at least 2 attorneys, preferably 3. If you have to pay for a consultation, pay for it. $50, $75, whatever it is. Okay. If you have to spend $150 and meet with 3 different people, then that's the way to go. Make a list of questions before you go in to see the lawyer and ask the lawyer those questions. Ask them. I mean, I could go on and on about this. Bottom line is, make it simpler. I would say this: meet with 2 or 3 attorneys, meet with them in person. If they'll give you that time, if they charge a consultation fee, that's fine. Go for it. Don't sign up with the lawyer on that day. Go home and think about it and tell that lawyer that you don't tell them, because they're going to pressure you. We're like car salesmen, and we're good at persuading people. We're going to, attorneys are going to push you to sign right there that day. Don't do it. Okay. Establish the boundaries before you go in. Meet with 2 or 3 attorneys and then choose the one that you feel most comfortable with. Okay, bring a list of questions in, ask the lawyer those questions. If you want to get real detailed, I would say get a copy of their fee agreement, take it home, read it, and then ask them additional questions, because there can be weird stuff lurking in some of these lawyers' fee agreements. Um, I have a Pittsburgh accent, no doubt, no doubt. Two or more people can have the same idea, but if one registers the copyright and the other one doesn't, legally the one who registers has intellectual property rights. Correct, Joe? That's my understanding, Ed. Just a disclaimer, nothing here is hard legal advice. Anything that I give here, you got to bring your facts to a specific lawyer. Okay. But we don't learn copyright law or intellectual property in law school. I mean, I know a little bit just from reading random stuff. Okay. Probably like you guys have. And I have a general understanding of the law. But yeah, I believe you have to register a copyright, the trademark, etc., or else you're not going to be legally protected using that. And someone else could bump you out of that field if, from using that logo, that brand, that design. A patent is similar. So it's really important. A Yankee accent, you could say that, Carl. You could say that, sir. Let's see. Robert. Got a broke neck. She got pissed because I wouldn't let her diagnose me with depression. Jerked up on my neck and head so hard she dislocated my jaw. What kind of doctor was it? Was it like a chiropractor? I mean, that's interesting. That's interesting, Robert. You got to go and see a med mal attorney. I can tell, actually, I'm Wilkes-Barre, but I'm born in Cleveland. You might actually know my dad. He's a lawyer in Cleveland, Dan Roth. He's been in the news. He did the Kent State shooting. I don't, Julie, just because I see the local news and I'm not even up to that as much as I should be. And I don't even know all the attorneys in Pittsburgh, but I do know a lot. So I haven't heard of your dad. But that's, that's cool. He got a high profile case. Good luck to him. Dr. Sarah, what kind of law do you practice? So I have my own practice, and I would say it's a general practice. The majority of my work, though, is in criminal defense. That's over 50%. I truly enjoy doing criminal defense work. I like being in court. I also do a decent amount of personal injury law. That's probably the next largest. So I don't do med mal. I don't do medical malpractice. That's what we call medical malpractice in the law. I do, look, I'm a solo practitioner. I'm an ambulance chaser. No, but I do slip and falls, auto accidents, weird situations where people end up getting hurt. Okay. And they have a lawsuit. That's the kind of PI I do, mostly auto accidents. I do family law, custody, child support, divorce. I haven't gotten into real complex cases in family law, but I'm starting to get into it. Criminal is my bread and butter. I'll do anything. I'll do a homicide, whatever. I mean, something in criminal, I know criminal the best. So I do criminal defense, personal injury. I'm getting into family law. I have a background in employment law. So that's people who are wrongfully terminated, discriminated against, or denied unemployment rights or benefits. I don't do workers' comp, or Social Security, which a lot of people ask me. I've just haven't learned that area, and there's so much to learn, and I like my areas. Joe, as a defense attorney, do you like soft sit rhetoric? To quote Saul Goodman, every one of those idiots will need an attorney, and who has 2 thumbs and a law degree. Look, here's the thing. I started the channel on sovereign citizens, and I made my first video on sovereign citizens because I used to run into them in court. I haven't seen one in a while. Right before I started the channel, there was one being brought up to the courtroom that I was in. I should have stuck around to watch, but I was busy, so I had to go. But when I was the public defender's office in law school, a couple of times they came through, and I was like, and I watched their arguments, and I was like, what the hell is going on with these people? So I looked into the internet. I got on the internet, and I read about them, and I knew about them, and we joke about them in the defense bar. And, criminal attorneys, we kind of joke about sovereign citizens because they shoot themselves in the foot. They can't help themselves. They're not the only people. I mean, some people deny an attorney. Some people deny representation. For no good reason. They just don't like lawyers. They think they can do better on their own. There's all kinds of reasons. Sovereign citizens, this, aren't the only people who deny attorneys. And we sit there and we cringe because bad things happen to them in front of judges because they don't have lawyers. I've never seen a sovereign citizen make a compelling argument. The only thing that I can see, and me and the chief who was on a couple of weeks ago, Chief Tuttle, we're talking about this. The sovereign citizen language, it creates a barrier. I think it psychologically gives them the illusion of control. So that was, if a person's a sovereign citizen, I'd try to talk them out of it and convince them that they need a lawyer because they're facing jail. Their freedom is at risk. And I just don't get it. They don't hire lawyers. It's against their religion. You're exactly right, Gary. I mean, I've never represented one. We used to get them at the public defender's office and be like, okay, dude, we're here to help you. This is your first court date. Fill out this piece of paper. Oh, no, I don't, no, get away from me. I don't want to help you. Would you defend a soft sit? Yeah, I would absolutely defend one, Doctor. I would absolutely, as long as they would have to hire me on my terms. You got to shut up. Okay, you need to shut up, be quiet. I'm going to defend your case. I'm going to speak for you. And you got to swallow all that soft sit crap and put it where it belongs, in the closet. Yeah, I would absolutely defend one. But they said that sovereign citizens don't represent, they don't want attorneys. Apparently, the PTO doesn't learn copyright either. I'm not sure what a PTO is. Here's a good one. If you have a defense attorney, have a client, do you have to engage another lawyer or firm to sue them? No, I could sue them myself. I've never done that. I've also never been – I've had clients stiff me on money. It's another inside lawyer joke is, I always get a kick because I have friends who work for big firms. And I'll see them in the family court, okay? And I'll be like, what are you doing here? I thought you worked for, Reed Smith or K&L Gates. And like, oh, we have a pro bono clinic. And so my firm allows me to do, 8 pro bono hours a month. And I'm down here doing my oh, that's nice. You do this. This is your pro bono. Okay. What my pro bono work is? The clients who don't pay. I get a lot of, that's a running joke, but it's so true, especially in criminal defense and even in family law a little bit. I get a lot of clients. I put them on payment plans. I help them. I have ways of getting people to pay me, okay, and they're pretty effective. So even on payment plans, 90+% of the time, I get all my money or almost all of it. And when I don't, it's never enough money for me to care. But I know other lawyers who sue clients. I've never had to do it. I've never done it. Beaver Bam Barbecue Bob's on fire. Dr. Sarah, too funny. You couldn't pay me enough to defend one of them. Yeah, I mean, they're crazy, Julie. I'll defend anybody, though. I'm a defense attorney. I mean, what can I do? They would have to shut up. They won't shut up. Listen, I've fired clients. I've had clients. I had a guy call me one time. He had a lawsuit against the judge. And before his hearing, he's like, I want you to tell the judge that he's biased because I sued him. And I'm like, listen, dude, number one, your lawsuit is crap. Number two, I'm not bringing that up. So you don't bring that up, I'm not hiring you. I was like, then here's your money. I give him his money back. And I've had other clients who have unrealistic beliefs or we just don't get along. Okay. And I'm pretty easy to get along with. We don't get along. I fire clients all the time. I give them their money back. I'm like, here you go. Take your money. It's not worth it. Bruce Davis, hello, yo. Oh, the PTO. Yeah. Okay. Patent trademark. I saw in a comment you were addressing the soft sit special appearance thing in a stream, but I can't seem to find that. I addressed that on my Patreon. I used to bring it up. I have a Patreon. I advertise in I have a Patreon. You can look. It's a link to all and I address certain things. I have videos up there. Many of you guys haven't seen. So if you sign up for my Patreon, you can give as little as $2 a month. You get access to exclusive content. And I actually wrote an article because I researched the special appearance thing. Here's what it is in a nutshell. In a nutshell, they believe that if they come in under a special appearance, right, like their language, if they go to court under special appearance, then they're not ceding jurisdiction to that court. Because, some soft sits think they have the, under their idea, they think, oh, if they cross a certain barrier in the court, they're ceding jurisdiction. If they go up to the table and sit down, they're ceding jurisdiction. Okay. But they found a way around this. If they claim that it's a special appearance, they can go into the courtroom for that limited matter without ceding jurisdiction. It's actually borrowed from actual legal practice. So for instance, I'm only barred in Pennsylvania. So I can practice in any court in Pennsylvania. I'm barred in state court and federal court. Federal court, I can only do the Western District. You have to get admitted to each federal court, okay? But I can practice any court in Pennsylvania. If a client called me, if one of you guys called me, because a lot of you aren't in PA, if you guys called me and were like, Joe, I really want you. I'm going to pay you to travel. I could say, okay, we could go down to Arkansas and I could ask that court, it's called pro hoc vice, it's Latin for, I could ask that court for a special appearance to say, I'm not barred in this state, but will you issue an order allowing me to practice just on this case? Happens all the time. It happens all the time, especially with like big international firms that have clients all over the world or clients all over the country. They likely, somebody might want like some, baller New York City attorney, and this client has a case in, I don't know, Utah. Okay, but and so that attorney might be barred in like 10 to 15 states, but he's not barred in Utah. So he'll go pro hoc vice, make a special appearance in Utah to represent the client just on that matter. Have you ever committed a client? What's your favorite lawyer? Okay, I'm backing up here. Ed, you can pay me in Diet Coke. Absolutely, yes. I was just going to ask, I see a lot of people show up in Broward Bond Court with private lawyers in tow. I mean, yeah, any private lawyer, Florida attorneys can go to bond court. I go to bond court all the time to help clients. But yeah, for out of state, you need a special court order. It's not that complicated. But if you're bringing an out of state attorney, you probably got big bucks. What's your favorite lawyering show, and which do you think is the most muralistic? My favorite is Sal, but he doesn't lawyer that much. I already answered this question, Blimey. I'm going to answer. Let me see the other questions. I always wonder how favorite lawyer show. I always wonder how they manage to afford a private lawyer. Look, to go, for a limited appearance and attorney, I might do something for a couple $100, right? I mean, if I go like, even if it's like $300. I mean, if I'm making $600, if I get $300 for an hour or two of my time, it's worth it. Have you ever committed a client to a mental institution? So not permanently, Joe Donho, but I have, as part of plea deals or pre-trial mitigating factors, I send clients all the time to rehab institutions, to therapists, to get psychiatric evaluations, to see psychologists all the time. They generally won't be court ordered to a mental institution. Number one, if they're found insane, or they have to be found insane, or if they have to be found not competent to stand trial. So sometimes we'll send them to certain facilities in order for them to get on the right medication and therapy so that they can understand what they're doing and then stand trial. Anyone experience lag? Is anybody getting lag? If a SovSit tries to hire you, tell them you only accept silver or gold. I know, or absolutely, right? I've never had one try to hire me. How about that asshole, Jeremy Kopp? He got rearrested and the judge didn't revoke his bond. I couldn't believe it. Yeah, every judge, Julie, you get judges with just a wide range of philosophies. Jurisprudence philosophy. I mean, we get a wide range of some judges will just nail people. And then some judges give people the longest leash. That dude, considering his history, I'm surprised he didn't get his bond revoked. He's the kind of guy that would get he should get a psych eval immediately. Like, I don't know, you guys follow the Antonio Brown saga. I'm from Pittsburgh, so that answers the question. You know, I followed all this Antonio Brown stuff. He went to jail on that alleged simple assault, and the judge ordered a psychiatric evaluation. I mean, that's part and parcel. That fake cop is awesome. Yeah, Bob, I know. I couldn't believe what I was getting into with him. I couldn't believe what I was getting into with him, that rabbit hole. I mean, it cracked me up. He's a maniac. Okay. Favorite show. I'm trying to answer all the questions. If you go to Arkansas and do Cousin Vinny. Okay, My Cousin Vinny is my favorite attorney movie. Okay. I'm going to give you that one right there. That's my favorite. I like how YouTube's algorithm finds more police impersonator just because I've watched a few. Yeah, YouTube started feeding me, Panda. Me too. Joe, could an attorney get in trouble professionally if he made a soft sit argument to a judge in a client's defense? They could, but it likely wouldn't happen unless they did it over and over again. If the lawyer actually was serious about it, yes, they could get in trouble. They could, yeah. I mean, you cannot misrepresent the law as an attorney. Now, lawyers make mistakes on the law, but if a court thinks that you intentionally misrepresented the law, you could lose your license and face disciplinary misconduct. So that's a hell of a thing to do. Now, a lot of times I'll make arguments, and I mean, it might sound silly, but a lot of lawyers do it. Sometimes you say, Your Honor, I believe that the law says this, A, B, C, and D. And then what everybody may do is they'll say, well, we're going to hold off on deciding if it's the type of thing where you can do that until you figure out what the law is. But yes, a lawyer can be disciplined and disbarred for misrepresenting the law. Medically, they're delusional, could be committed if we actually had enough psych facilities. Yeah, if you guys ever listen to Dr. Drew, watch some of his YouTube videos on sort of the end of psych facilities in this country back in the 1960s. It's fascinating. I like how YouTube's Joe couldn't attorney. Okay. Maniac looks so satisfied when the judge let him go. Dr. Sarah, I work in psychiatric hospital. We run into him all the time. They throw vomit and their pains are pain in the ass. Yeah, I bet, Julie. I bet. Yeah, getting some lag here. I'm sorry, Panda. I don't know why. My internet connection's pretty sound. I haven't really gotten complaints of that in the past. Tried to do a super chat and it wouldn't go through. Thank you, Carl. I don't know what happened. It could be something with my internet. I'll look into it. It appears that everything's streaming okay on my end. I got a DUI 40 years ago. Hired a lawyer, won a bench DUI. Started with me, went into a slump. That's the worst freaking luck, Taze. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. You know, it's funny. Antonio went downhill real quick. He did. It's funny. I think it's YouTube, not you. Yeah, sorry, man. I don't know what's going on today. Everything looks good on my end. Just FYI, my internet's running. Yeah, you're welcome, Joe Donho. If you're on my Patreon, I wrote a nice long paragraph on that. I'll tell you. So my first job out of law school, I was doing employment law. And I was doing unemployment hearings. Those are like my first real hearings. They're not a real judge. I mean, they're like administrative judges. Anyway, I lost like my first 3. And I was like, wow. I was like, I suck. You know, I was like, I must suck. Like, is it me? Do I suck? And then I won like 6 in a row. And I was like, I am the greatest attorney ever. And then I'd lose one and I'd win one and I'd lose one and I'd win one. So just stay humble. A guy has a winning streak. It does not mean it's going to last forever. I will say this, though. One thing I can tell you now is I'm pretty good at sizing up a case before we go to a hearing. So usually my prediction is pretty good. But here's the thing with trial is you never know what's going to happen. Unexpected facts come up, etc. Every time I post a comment, it shows error before posting. I can't read comments. I can't get to my subscriber list. Jeez. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Soft sits seem to like making a big deal out of saying they're in court by special appearance. Yeah, they believe that that means that they're not ceding jurisdiction to the court. That's what it believes, or ceding themselves to the court authority. Regression to the mean, absolutely, Giordano, absolutely. In my first two criminal trials, I lost. Luckily, I mean, here's the thing. Like, this is for, I should be talking to law students. You really do want to work yourself into the law. And what I mean is take smaller cases and then work yourself up to more high pressure cases. In civil law, that could be small value cases. Go to trial, get your experience on those cases because the stakes aren't as high, and then go do a big value case. In criminal law, the first two trials I did, the one trial, my client, even if we lost, wasn't at risk to going to jail. The one trial I did, I lost. My client went to jail. My third trial, my client was looking, to literally get launched. He was going to get 10 to 20 years in jail, easy. And, but I was ready. I was a little more experienced and I won that one. So it was like, I lost I lost two at the beginning that hurt, but then I won a big one and that felt good. What is the too much level on a case? Kevin, my too much level is pretty, I would take, if I feel comfortable with a client, I would take most cases, even criminal cases. Okay. And that can put me into some bad territory because the ones that are traditionally really looked down upon are like child sex type cases. Okay. And I've done some work on those. The thing is to get those clients, you have to build a reputation. And they're high value. Like you could charge a lot of money as an attorney to do those types of cases. They're high stakes. They're tough cases. I did a few with another attorney. I haven't taken any on my own, always as like co-counsel. I would have to say it would really depend on the facts, whether I would take a case like that. I might back off of a case, like a child sex case. But adult sex assault type cases, I'll take. Adult homicides, I have no problem taking. The traditional too much level in the criminal defense world is number one, is cop killers. Okay, so individuals who kill police officers, and it's personal and professional because one thing, like even though the cops are my nemesis, they're in a way, I don't even want to call them my nemesis, but yeah, in court, they're going one way, I'm going the other way. I keep a good relationship with all the cops, but most defense attorneys have, outside of the courtroom, it's funny, it's shocking, have really good relationships with the prosecutors and with the police. Okay. Now they may not in public or on the news, but behind closed doors, there's actually, it's sort of like a club that we're in. All right. So, cop killers like Poplovsky, he killed 3 cops here in Pittsburgh. It was a big case 7-8 years ago. No defense attorney in town would touch that case with a 10-foot pole. And then we had up here, we had the Tree of Life shooting here in Pittsburgh where, that guy committed the hate crime and shot up the synagogue. I wouldn't take a case. I wouldn't take a mass shooter. I wouldn't take a cop killer, and there's certain cases involving children that I wouldn't take. That's my limit. Call me up. Call me. My Patreon, I'll post it for you guys, and then I'm going to answer the question about my favorite. I already did. I answered this once before on a live stream. I answered this once before on a live stream, but I'll give you the answer again. It's a fun question to me. Let me grab my Patreon real quick and drop it for you guys if you're interested. And like I said, I drop new content in there, videos, articles that I write, and I generally respond to communications in there at a higher rate. Oh, crap. That's the old link, but it's the correct Patreon. It says Joe Palmetto Law. That was my old show. Okay. How about mailing list brokers? I say, I got mad respect for you now. Oh, well, thank you, Kevin. I appreciate it. I just try to be honest. Is Suits realistic for corporate law? Never watched Suits. I have some friend. I have one friend, an attorney friend, who loves that show. And then I've also heard other attorneys say they can't stand it. I should check it out. My sister's married, haven't been together. She just had a kid. Could her husband be on the hook? Okay, that blimey, I'm going to get to that question. But first of all, you, sir, I can't remember who asked me the question about, I love Better Call Saul. I love Better Call Saul. And I'll tell you why. In a certain way, it's the most realistic attorney show that you're ever going to see. Because a lot of the attorney shows out there, let's talk about a few of them. You have Law and Order. You have a show like Suits. What was that one with Captain Kirk? Okay, Boston Legal, Law and Order, Suits, Boston Legal. Okay, and they all depict like these slick power attorneys. Okay, these slick power lawyers. Some of the best lawyers I've ever seen. Okay, are guys. I kid you not, like these ragged down, like they probably have 3 suits. Okay. And you would look at this guy and be like, who is this guy? And I've seen them do magic in trial. Okay. So I like Better Call Saul. If you watch the first season, the first couple seasons, which I've watched, I haven't watched all of it. There's a scene where Saul, as a public defender, he's taking court-appointed cases, which I take. Basically, the court pays me to represent indigent people who can't be represented by the public defender. Okay, so I'm taking it on a minimum basis. That's pro bono too. Just kidding. I make okay money on those. So as a public defender, you get these crap cases and you have to go to trial on them and you have to give your best. Better Call Saul. There's this one scene where he comes in and he gives this impassioned closing argument. The show starts in closing argument. He's like, my client did this because reason A, didn't do this because of reason A and reason B and reason C and reason D, and you must find my client innocent beyond a reasonable doubt. And the prosecutor gets up there, pops a video into a TV, presses play, and it shows the client doing exactly what that defense attorney said he didn't do. And then the prosecutor didn't even make an argument. He just showed the video, and a guy was found guilty. That is sometimes how real court is, okay? You have to defend these cases where you don't have a shot in hell, okay? But as a lawyer, you have to go in there, you have to zealously advocate and do your best. And I just love that scene. I've never seen anything like it in any cinema. I was like, that's so realistic, okay? It shows Saul in the hallways, in the bathroom, okay, taking a leak, washing his hand, talking to a prosecutor. I know it sounds ridiculous, but that's where deals are made sometimes, okay? This is real life. Like, I go into a courtroom, a prosecutor has a stack of 10 files. They open up my case on the day of trial. They don't even know what's going on. Okay, they got witnesses and cops there trying to fill them in, all right? And we go out in the hallway, we walk downstairs, we break for lunch. I'm calling him on his cell phone, texting, trying to make deals. And sometimes it can all be like that, boom, boom, boom. Saul captures that. The other thing about Better Call Saul is his first office was he had to walk through a nail salon and he had a closet in the back with a desk and a space for one chair. I mean, there's lawyers. If you worked at the public defender's office or even a prosecutor's office in Pittsburgh, okay, they work in a cubicle. These lawyers sit in a cubicle. If you watch Law and Order, you get the impression that every district attorney is rich and powerful and has a big desk and, a mallet there and all that. That's not the way it is. It's not reality. Okay. And some of the stuff is true and some of it's fascinating and it's interesting. And I can get into those shows sometimes. But Better Call Saul, like, that's how, like, I started out as a solo practitioner giving hours to another attorney, and he gave me the smallest office in his office suite. Okay. I bought a $50 desk off Walmart.com. Okay. Other lawyers were walking in laughing at me. I have a nicer desk now. Okay. I don't have the greatest desk, but I got a bigger office, I got bigger space. Okay. But that's how you start out. So all these images of attorneys in popular culture are nonsense. And like Better Call Saul, like, captured that. Now, I know from Breaking Bad that he works his way up. He gets a nice office with the Constitution. I mean, that's how it goes. That's reality. You lose, attorneys lose cases. You also get some fantastic wins. You scrape by for money at times. I mean, it can be a brutal job. So, in my opinion, a defense attorney just assures the client gets a fair trial. If client can't, prosecutor can't put enough. Yeah, I agree with that. Absolutely, Taze. Absolutely, man. I agree with that 100%. So, that I love Better Call Saul. And I love My Cousin Vinny too, because here's the other thing. I had somebody tell me one time as an attorney, and I wasn't sure whether to go to trial or not. And they said, well, do you believe your client? Is your client telling the truth? Well, then, then the truth will, the truth will set you free. Now, that's not always true, but even if you go in, you're scared of doing a bad job. If you have the truth on your side, a jury or a judge will see through to that. Or at least you hope that they will. It won't always happen. It won't always happen. So I love Better Call Saul. I love My Cousin Vinny. Most attorneys, we venerate To Kill a Mockingbird. It's too perfect, but Atticus Finch is the ultimate lawyer, and he was a criminal defense attorney. The small town attorney, there's really something romantic about that, in a weird, is to hang your shingle in your town, and the people of your community come by, you do their wills, you help them out when they get DUIs. If somebody gets in a car accident, you make sure that they get some money from the insurance company that they're entitled to. I mean, I like being a general practitioner, being a solo practitioner. Most of my clients, if I represent a business, it's a small business. Most of my clients, come from a similar background that I did. And, Better Call Saul, in a weird way, captured that. It's funny too with with Better Call Saul is, you see him, then he goes and works for his brother at this big power firm. And like, those firms do exist. And those lawyers, like, that Howard guy, I love that Howard guy, who are like these hard asses in the slick suit. Like, they exist too, but like there's usually something more behind that individual, which is actually revealed through Better Call Saul. Like, you think Howard's the jagoff, but he turns out actually to be the nice guy. Like, and I loved how I mean, it's more realistic than you think. Like, it really is. And then, he got into the firm because he brought them this big class action. That's what happens. Sometimes an attorney gets a big case, takes it to a firm, they make them a partner. That might not always work out, okay? But sometimes one big case can launch your career. Now you got $10,000 to go advertise. So I love My Cousin Vinny. I love Better Call Saul. I love To Kill a Mockingbird. I've never seen Suits. I'm not a big fan of Law and Order. I liked The Wire. If you watch The Wire, like, The Wire was awesome. There's a couple more movies I'm going to throw at you. Watch The Verdict with Paul Newman. Okay, I love that story. Paul Newman is he's a down and out plaintiff's attorney, personal injury, ambulance chaser, right? And it shows the beginning. He goes to a funeral and he's handing out his card. That stuff's all illegal now, but it used to be legal anyway. And he's getting kicked on and he's just drinking every day. And then he gets this case, okay? And it sort of, and he learns something about himself and the process. And it's just, The Verdict is a fantastic movie. I haven't seen The Lincoln Lawyer. I know. A Time to Kill, I liked that when I was younger. But I'm going to tell you, see The Verdict with Paul Newman. Watch watch And Justice for All for Al Pacino. With Al Pacino, that actually captures the craziness of the public defenders and prosecutors. Like public defenders, they're like prosecutors. They have 100 cases. They're like being pulled in 1,000 directions. Like the stress they have to deal with is amazing. You love the verdict. Thank you, Jadon. I love the verdict. I don't know. The verdict is good. The nurse who changed the number and she cries, "Who are these men? I wanted to be a nurse." Yeah, man. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. 12 Angry Men is good too. I have not seen that in a while, but that's good. Every lawyer should watch that to learn about the process. I don't know what's going on with the DOJ and Roger Stone. Honestly, I don't. You know, a lot of some of that politicking, that stuff, I just can't get into it. I don't know. I'm out of order. You're out of order. Yeah, that's the best. Time to Kill was good, not unrealistic representation of the South. Yeah, absolutely. A Time to Kill was like a modern To Kill a Mockingbird. 12 Angry Men is great too. Attorney General is appointed by the executive. Correct. Well, just FYI, in Pennsylvania, the Attorney General is an elected position. I thought the Attorney General was supposed to be independent from the executive branch. You know, that gets deep into constitutional law. I don't believe it is fully independent on the federal level. But yeah, I mean, on federally, Kevin is correct. The Attorney General is appointed by the president. My mom told me to watch Bull. I should watch it. What do you think of the 4 prosecutors are quit because of DOJ interference with the Stone case? You know, here's the thing. Anytime a prosecutor is taking, you know, a moral stance, I applaud that. I don't know if I necessarily agree that it was the right thing to take a moral stance over. And just to be clear, they only took themselves off the case. They didn't actually resign as government attorneys, just FYI. Aaron Brockovich. Aaron Brockovich was good. Yeah, I liked Aaron Brockovich. When I was in law school, let's see here. When I was in law school, okay, I read this book. It's called we had to read this book. It's called The Buffalo Creek Disaster. And it's about a lawsuit, okay? And I'm in Pittsburgh. And those of you from Pittsburgh know that we have a strange relationship with the state of West Virginia. I think the whole country does. You know, I sometimes laugh at West Virginia and I crack jokes about West Virginia, but I also kind of love West Virginia. I've been down to Morgantown many times, many of the towns in West Virginia. Anyway, Buffalo Creek Disaster is about a town that had a dam. You know, there was a river and there was a dam built by, I believe, a coal mining company. Built this dam above this town, okay? And they essentially let the dam deteriorate and crumble, and the dam burst, and they killed, I'm looking at the back right now, and this was in 1972, 125 people were killed in the flooding. And some attorneys brought a lawsuit against the company, and it was a highly, highly contested, high-value lawsuit. People died, a lot of money. The company tried to avoid responsibility. And this is a great book for any lawyer or anybody who wants to know how the law operates to read this book. This was like my Aaron Brockovich. I'm familiar with Aaron Brockovich. I follow her on Facebook. She doesn't post much. But this was an interesting, you know, this led to some, you know, legislation, et cetera, et cetera. But some attorneys do really important work in doing things like making sure that companies, you know, live up to their responsibilities, especially when the safety of the public is at risk. I read Rainmaker. Yeah, Rainmaker is good. Scott Turow has written some excellent books. West Virginia, where men are men or sheep are nervous. You see what I mean? West Virginia laughs about West Virginia. Yeah, right, Chadana. I mean, right. You know, I love nature and the outdoors. Okay, so I love West Virginia on that sense, and I never mind going down to West Virginia, driving through West Virginia, but we gotta crack jokes about West Virginia too. Oh, I like Jadon Hill. I love Cape Fear. I love that movie. I don't think of that as a lawyer movie. I guess it is, but I love Cape Fear, and I've been saying, as a person of mostly Italian ancestry, we in my family, we sort of venerate Al Pacino and Robert De Niro, and we always have arguments about their best acting performances, and of course, The Godfather, etc. I believe that Robert De Niro's best acting performance ever was in Cape Fear. Roscoe, Matlock. I mean, man, I watched him as a kid. uh, Pipestem State Park in West Virginia is really nice. Has a really odd campground. Yeah, I went to, the University of Pittsburgh, and I've been to a couple of football games in Morgantown. Now, before, as many of you may know, before Pennsylvania had legal gambling in casinos, West Virginia built one or two. There's one in Wheeling, and Christ, where's the other one? Excuse my language. Anyway, so when they built their casinos, I would go down to their casinos. I'd go to Morgantown to watch football games. Wheeling has a dog track. I got people in my family who are really into like dog and horse racing, and so we would go down and watch dog. I've been to Wheeling to watch dog races. So I've spent some time in West Virginia. My friend lived in Charlestown. I was just see Carl go. So my buddy got licensed as an attorney in West Virginia, and he lived in Charlestown. And I went down there, spent 3 days in the town. It was a nice enough town. It was kind of neat as a small town feel. It's a bit, it's big for West Virginia, I guess. It has a small town feel. We hit up some pretty cool bars in the downtown area. There's a river that runs right past. Yeah, I've been to Charlestown, so. That's my feelings. There's two attorneys in my office who played football in West Virginia. They're huge West Virginia guys, and so they got all this crap up on their walls for West Virginia. And I'm a Pitt fan, so I gotta jag them. And for those of you who like my Pittsburgh accent, yes, jagoff is one of our favorite words. I like it because I'm not actually cussing, right? It's not actually a swear word. I looked at West Virginia for retirement. There's too much snow, which is to say it snows there. But yeah, Carl. I mean, listen, if you want to go somewhere where nobody's going to bother you, go to West Virginia, man. I mean, right? When we think about wilderness in the United States, we think about Colorado, we think about Sierra Mountains, we think about Wyoming, we think about out west. Let me tell you, West Virginia is the freaking wilderness, okay? And so West Virginia is the freaking wilderness. And so, one of my best friends, his grandmother, they got a trailer down there in West Virginia because they just wanted to be left alone like this. So they got a trailer, and she lived out, her later years down in West Virginia. Yinzer all the way, Roscoe. You know it. Northern Central is very sparse. Right, it is. It really is. Not much there. Andrew Jackson. A lot of people go to Oglebay, the Oglebay Resort, where like Dwight Eisenhower used to play golf. That's in West Virginia. I hear Oglebay is amazing. Also, Snowshoe. which I have not been to, but I would like to go to. We've barely had winter this year, at least around in Pittsburgh. But Snowshoe is apparently one of the better ski resorts on the East Coast, from what I've heard, or at least around like the Pittsburgh, Ohio, West Virginia area. Snowshoe is like the best ski resort. So there's some cool stuff to do. Holiday Valley, I've never been there. I don't know much about that, Roscoe. I don't. Did you know that Kafka was a lawyer? Who's Kafka? Should have done that. Franz Kafka? Excuse me. Franz Kafka, the writer, the author? Pipestem State Park, Roach Cliff State Park. I've never been to California, Ed. Franz Kafka. I've never been the farthest west I've been to Las Vegas twice. I've seen like weird areas of the country, but not all. I've been to Omaha, but I have not been to the West Coast or really like the northern Midwest or New England. But I've been decent. I've been around the South, the Southeast, other parts of the Midwest. I've been to Texas. Obviously, I've been to Nevada. West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home, country roads. Ba, 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 ba. Ba-dum, bum, ba-da. Blue Ridge Mountain, Shenandoah River. Life is old there, older than the trees, younger than the mountain, rolling like a breeze. Country roads, take me home to the place I belong. West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home. Country roads. I love that song. The Metamorphosis, the Castle, the Trial. Are you going to try to get to every state at some point? Yeah, actually, I would like to, Panda. 6 days, 15 days. I hit the road to see all the weird little places. 6 years, 15 days. Go for it, Carl. Good luck and congratulations. Blue Ridge Mountains aren't in West Virginia. Is that? I don't even know if that's what he says. Don't quote me on John Denver. Let's see here. Let's see the words. I don't know if it's Blue Ridge. Yeah, he does say Blue Ridge Mountains. They're not in West Virginia? Damn. Yeah, I do karaoke. I lived in Japan for 2.5 years. Who wants to go karaokeing? Take a road trip from Albuquerque, New Mexico to Glacier. I would love to. Shenandoah Valley is in Virginia. Well, there's a meme. Well, look, the song didn't work without Blue Ridge Mountains. So it looks like John Denver took a little creative liberty there. You were a truck driver. No shit, Ed. You know, I've thought about if I ever quit practicing law, get my CDL and just get on the freaking road, man. Just get out there. Oh. Every state except Hawaii, Alaska, and most of the New England states. I want to hit up Alaska too. What my ultimate trip would be, I know a lot of people say this, you know, I'm a sports nut, especially my Pittsburgh sports teams. You know, those are the sports I follow. I don't really follow basketball. But I would like to go to I'd like to do the baseball stadium thing, go see every baseball park in the country on a road trip. And I'd also like to go to some of the hockey, see some hockey games up in Canada. So I might include Canada, but I don't know. I don't know if that'll ever happen for me. Ed's been everywhere. Saw you from, hey, the cause. Thank you for jumping in. Thanks for dropping in from Nick Rakita. You guys don't know, me and Rakita had a great conversation. Go to Rakita Law. He drops legal knowledge as well. A lot. I will go on. I want to give it some time. I don't want to be on his stream like, every week. But I'll reach out to him. Nick Rakita's got a great show, though. Really great guy. We talked for about an hour and a half. I have another channel, Joe the Lawyer. I don't know if everybody is aware of that channel. I actually put my stream with Nick Rakita up on that channel. So I would say drop by my other channel, subscribe to that. As I'm sure most of you guys know here watching me today, this channel focuses on sovereign citizens. I focus on First Amendment auditors, First Amendment type issues. And my other channel, which you should get to at that link, go to that link, and that's my other channel. And you can find my stream with Nick Rakita. And he's up in Minnesota. He's an attorney, and he's got a really cool show. He dissects certain lawsuits, this Vic Mignogna thing. He goes into some national law issues, wide ranging. I mean, Rakita's great. Thank you for subbing to both, the cause. I appreciate it. Russell J. Gould. I feel like I've heard the name, but I don't know what it is. I don't know it. Been on the Jim Beam Trail, which leads from my recliner to the toilet bowl. I've been there too, man. That was the Jack Daniels Trail. Blue Ridge Mountains do go to West Virginia and Pennsylvania too. I believe the Blue Ridge Mountains are a portion of the Appalachian Mountains. And, down in Georgia, they call them the Smoky Mountains, and in New Hampshire called the White Mountains. They're all part of the Appalachian Mountain Trail, okay? Okay, people, okay? I hiked on the Appalachian Trail a couple of times too. That's another story. Country roads on awesome copyright. Yeah, so Kevin, I actually reached out to Lawful Masses. Do me a favor, if you live stream with him, tell him to do an episode with me. I dropped him a line. He's probably just really busy, so we haven't been able to connect. But his stuff on his at First Amendment Ed, you want somebody to talk about copyrights. He dissects. He goes into a lot of cases, so he's really good. Check out Lawful Masses. Russell is the Postmaster General of the World Corporation. Geography lawyers are up tonight. There was this defense lawyer's recurring character on NYPD Blue that was the nemesis of the main character played by Dennis Franz. Great character. Defense attorneys are often, here's the thing is, like, I personally, I think when you're in a courtroom and there's a trial that's going to happen, the defense attorney is the most interesting person in the room. You already know what a prosecutor is about, okay? If there's cops in there, you know what cops are about, and you probably also know what the person who's on trial is about and what the judge is about. But the defense lawyer, come on. I'm a contrarian in real life, okay? And so, I'm not an extreme contrarian, but the majority of the time, if a majority of people take one position, you may find me on the other side, okay? And I don't know why. That's just how I'm built. And so I enjoy being a defense attorney because I like making the arguments that somebody has to make, but a lot of people don't want to make. How do you think these sovereigns get so brainwashed? I think there's a lot of different reasons. The cause. Number one, I think there's people who get into the sovereign citizen movement for money. Okay, they're scheming people. They're scheming other people for money. They're making money off the dissemination of these ideas. And perhaps after being exposed to it long enough, they start to believe it. And because they have to sell it, they start to believe it. So there are the schemers. There are people who are so Then there are the people, I don't know what to call them. Maybe it's I don't know. The cognitive dissonance is so great. Like, for instance, there's people who get their driver's license suspended or go into the criminal justice system, and they feel that the system is so corrupt and so unfair to them that something like the sovereign citizen ideology appeals to them because I believe it gives them power. Okay. Then there are people who they think it gives them power. It doesn't. Then there are people who are in such dire circumstances, like facing life in prison, that gravitate to sovereign citizen because that empowers them. It also is, it's also a delay mechanism and a buffer. It creates a buffer between them and the court. It creates a delay system between them and the court. Then there are the true believers, who the people who pick this, they are probably prone to conspiracies in general. They might be the kind of individual that would be prone to joining a cult. However, I don't call sovereign citizens a cult. I don't believe they're a cult. I believe it's a loosely affiliated network of ideas with different pockets, etc. It's not a cult. But there are people who are very susceptible, they're contrarian like I am, but to a large extreme. I'm a rational contrarian, okay? You can convince me through reason and logic that I'm wrong. The Rake, Joe Donho, get out of here. Did I tell you? You knew I watched that. Did you know I watched that, man? Did you know I watched that? The Rake is fabulous. I really like that show. Number one, because you're welcome, the cause. So there's schemers, there's true believers, okay? Then there's the people who are down and out, and then there's also the people who get taken advantage of. Okay, the schemers are dangerous, and a lot of them end up in jail, and they're getting people into really bad situations. There's true believers. These are people like some of the Moorish sovereign citizens, or some of the ones, out in the Midwest who really take it to the extreme. They gravitate towards this ideology. They truly believe in it like it's a religion. They're dangerous as well. The schemers and the true believers are dangerous. Then there's the people who are in desperate straits that gravitate towards it. And then are maybe, I guess, people who are just gullible or have been screwed over by the law. Those are the people that can be converted back. Okay. The schemers, they know it's BS. They're just making money. And the true believers, you're never going to convert. Prohibit filming anywhere inside the courthouse. Yeah, you cannot film in Allegheny County Courthouse. You cannot do it. A lot of courthouses wanted to open up to it, but now you cannot. What gets me is the way Sovsits throw pseudo-legal terms around like treason and genocide. Yeah, I mean, these terms, they sound good, and to the untrained eye, the untrained ear, like people who don't know anything say, oh, that guy sounds smart. And in a way that makes it persuasive, but it's bullshit. Both. I mean, Carl, both. Some of them are gullible and some of them are willfully stupid. They want to believe it because it gives them, like, I think one psychological aspect here is people who have had their license suspended out to infinity, and they want to drive, but they know that they can't. And so they have this cognitive dissonance where they're driving, but they know they're doing something wrong. And it's not easy for the brain to live with two ideas that don't meld with one another. So if they adopt the sovereign citizen psychology, all of a sudden they can drive and they're not breaking the law. Like, cognitive dissonance is crazy. I mean, it's crazy. Confirmation bias, et cetera, et cetera. You can't handle the truth. Yeah, I mean, I like A Few Good Men, but those courtroom scenes are so unrealistic, it's not even funny. I'm sorry. So unrealistic, it's not even funny. In law school, didn't you have to argue both sides, even if you didn't believe in one side? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, the funny thing is, like, when I'm a plaintiff attorney, I'm basically a prosecutor. And then when I'm doing criminal stuff, I'm a defense attorney. A lot of attorneys will go, and look, you become a better lawyer that way by seeing things from both sides and knowing how to put together a case. You know, you put together a case as a defense attorney differently than as a prosecutor. As a prosecutor, you have a burden, you have to put on the evidence. Defense attorney, sometimes you can sit back and you can just shoot holes, and like shoot holes in the other person's case. So Appalachian Trail, someone would leave hand carved walking sticks. That'd be awesome to find one of those. I never did. I loved hiking on the Appalachian Trail though. How often do treason cases actually happen? In the United States, I would say they are extremely rare. Yeah, in military courts, I mean, probably World War II was the last time we had them in this country. But I really don't know. I really don't know. I mean, I've never really heard or seen one. That'd be handled in a military court, most likely. I mean, Kevin, you're exactly right. Dun 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 dun. I love Metacore's video about calm sits. Are they gullible? What gets me? Dun 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 dun. Okay, everybody, we've been going for about an hour 30. Every Wednesday, 8 o'clock. I'm trying to do Tuesdays and Wednesdays. I know I missed yesterday. I want to ramp it up to 3 days. Yesterday I had 3 court hearings, and today I had to be in there this morning, and I just couldn't get the energy yesterday. So thank you everybody for coming tonight. Check out my Patreon. Check out my other channel, Joe the Lawyer. Listen, on that channel, you guys do give me a lot of ideas, but if you go watch my videos, I read all my comments, 90% of them. I get most of them. On that other channel, I get a lot of comments on Common Sense Academy now, so I'm not able to read all of them. But go on my other channel, Joe the Lawyer, and leave me comments of content. I want content suggestions. I'm trying to really get a feel and find I found my sweet spot on this channel, but I want to know what people want to hear on that other channel. Okay. You bet, Bob. I got all these signs. I'm coming up with the signs. I mean, you know, this is inexpensive. It's inexpensive. The Kane Mutiny, very good also. Seen it a long time ago. Can't remember it. I did watch it. I know I enjoyed it. This is for Dr. Sarah. Do you know what you call someone who finished last in their class in med school? A chiropractor? Nah, man. I'll sing karaoke with you guys. Come on. You guys didn't go to karaoke in Okinawa? Karaoke. Okay. All right. Good night and good luck. I will see everybody soon. I got some videos planned for this week. Adios. Hasta luego. Hasta la vista. Sayonara. Jamatane. Ciao.